Hello, I'm Stefanie in Sotogrande and Charlie in Sotogrande.
Hello.
Today we are not showing you a beautiful house. We thought it would be useful to our clients, our new clients, to know all about the buying process of a property in Sotogrande. There are 7 important tips to know about. Tip number 1 is location, normally. Location means that you already have established that Sotogrande is the place to be, obviously, because of the connections to international airports such as Malaga 1 hour, Jerez 1 hour, Seville 2 hours, Gibraltar 20 minutes. You want to be by the sea because of the climate, because of the warmest, most possible place in southern Spain, and because of the international school, possibly. So these are all reasons why you like Sotogrande, apart from, of course, polo, golf, and all super sports facilities here in Sotogrande. So once we establish that, then location within Sotogrande becomes even more important. And there, maybe Charlie, you can tell us more about that.
Sure. Sotogrande is 2,000 hectares in size. It has a beach and it goes all the way up to some mountains where you have some sea views. We basically say we have 4 areas, if you like. We've got the Sotogrande port, where you are by the boats on the port area. It's a leasehold area. Then it's all freehold along the marina, where you have islands and riberas. So if you're looking for an apartment with a boat view, if you have a berth, that's the sort of place to be. Then we cross the bridge across the river 𝗥𝗲𝗹, and on that side we have what's called Sotogrande Costa. You have the Real Club Sotogrande, the golf course, you have the tennis clubs, and it's very flat in the area called Kings and Queens. Very popular with the Spanish market in particular, but also with an international market as well, because it's close to everywhere, flat. As you go over the motorway, you are going to Sotogrande Alto, which is where you may have possibly a view, because you're getting higher up, and there's some very nice southerly aspect views of the sea and towards Gibraltar. And the newer part is called 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗏 de Sotogrande, which is just past the school into 𝗥𝗲𝗹 at the top, or via the clubhouse of 𝗥𝗲𝗹 Golf. There as well you could have a plot perhaps that you want to build, also with very, very nice sea views, and some very large houses are being built there at the moment. So that's basically the location options you may have in Sotogrande. Stefanie, what about the property brief itself?
Yeah, so here we come to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is, what kind of property are you looking for? Obviously the number of bedrooms, bathrooms is the basic importance, and what we also need to know is, what are you using the property for? Is it going to be a holiday home or a prime residence? If it's going to be a holiday home which you use more in the winter, you might like more an orientation to the south. So to the south means you have maximum sunlight coming in, and if you use the property more in the summer, then you might prefer an easterly orientation, because also you might want to see the sea. For us in Sotogrande, sea view means eastern view. Or maybe you prefer even a northern view because you want to see the mountains and the Andalusian landscape. So there are lots of possibilities in Sotogrande, and what is important as well, of course, is, are you preferring a traditional style or a contemporary style house? And then what is very important here in Sotogrande is also the privacy. Many people prefer privacy to views. If you want privacy, usually you don't get as many views because you're not so exposed. But in some cases you can have both, privacy and views. So that's kind of challenging. So here we come to tip number 3.
Good. Our third tip that we have is understanding and knowing your budget. There's the cost of the house, of course, but then there's associated costs with buying a property. So the first thing is obviously to agree a price. And let's say you found a house for €1,000,000 and that's the one you want. You will have additional costs. If the house is new, you'll have a 10% VAT to pay, plus a stamp duty of 1.2% called actos jurídicos documentados in Spanish. If it's a resale property, you would be paying today 7% with the transmissions tax, as it's called. Other than that, of course, you then have your purchase costs. They would include your lawyer, you would be paying for a survey most likely, you'll have notary costs, and you'll have registration costs. These have to be also thought about, and we're talking about maybe 1.5% more on top of the purchase price. As well, I would recommend that if you want to have a private contract to reserve the property, they would be asking possibly for about 10% of the value of the house that you've bought. So you need 100,000 euros in cash, because that's the money you have to put down almost straight away to reserve the property and take it off the market. Ongoing costs are not that expensive in Sotogrande, and when you compare them to other markets, you will have a community fee to pay, which is based on the size of the plot of your house, and then you'll have a IPI, which is the property tax that you have to pay on an ongoing basis, and then some other small costs such as rubbish removal. Obviously, if you have a villa, you may have a garden and you have a pool, and those will need some costs to push behind them, obviously, to keep those nicely in order. The one thing I would also recommend to everybody to make sure that you have in anticipation of coming even to see is to get an agreement in principle of a bank if you are looking for a mortgage. There's nothing more frustrating than finding a house and then going to the bank and finding out that all of a sudden you realize, hey, as a foreigner I only get 60%. I don't get up to maybe 80 or 90% as you would in your home country as a loan. So bear those things in mind. Stephanie, what's the next tip?
So here we come to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is choose your lawyer. As a foreigner, you may wish to use a lawyer speaking your language. Other than Chinese, we find most lawyers here in this area who speak several languages, and qualified lawyers. The lawyer will do your legal due diligence of the property. And I have a list here to read, as I don't want to forget anything that a lawyer will do for you. So he will check the details of the ownership. He will check the charges on the property, such as a mortgage. He will check the rights of occupations, if there are tenants, for example, in the property, and how long are they staying. He will check the rights of way, if there are planning issues about the correct registration. He will ensure tax payments are current. He will check the first occupation license, very important document. He will check that all utilities have been paid. And he will also prepare the purchase deed and mortgage deed if applicable. So these are all things that your lawyer will do for you and represent you. Maybe even you want to give him power of attorney before the procedure starts, because maybe you're not here living, and so you would have to come back every time to sign a document. So that's tip number 4. Now we come to tip number 5.
Tip number 5. Before that, another thing the lawyer can do as well is help you with your NIE number, N-I-E, which is a number you need to have, and also to open a bank account. Without a bank account, you obviously can't bring money in, and that's very important to do. But those the lawyers usually can help you with. You can do it on your own, but lawyers are very helpful. So tip number 5, survey. We would highly recommend anyone who is buying a house, in particular a villa, to send a structural engineer or a technical architect, as they call it in Spain, to check over the house. More for structural issues rather than maybe if the boiler is working or not. But a good survey is very important. You don't buy a property every day. It's something you buy 2, 3, 4, 5 times in your lifetime, and therefore make sure it is right and you don't find any surprises after you've signed the deed. Yeah, that's it. So tip number 6, Stephanie, what would that be?
Now we come to tip number 6. Tip number 6 is the purchase procedure. Purchase procedure means that once you find the property and make an offer, a formal offer on the property that you like to have, then a private contract will be drawn with all the conditions that we have agreed on, which is normally the purchase price, whether you're buying with furniture, without furniture, and also in the purchase agreement will be the completion date. The completion date means when you go to notary and sign the title deed. So that is the time when you actually become owner of the property. The moment you sign the title deed, the keys will be handed over to you, and happy days.
Happy days indeed.
Yeah. So now we come to tip number 7 and our last tip for today.
Yeah, so tip number 7 is have a Spanish will. A Spanish will that is confined to your Spanish assets, okay? That will simplify any issues you have in their life. You know, exactly, if you pass away, your heirs will have less of an issue with probate and ensuring that that asset is limited to that and nothing from your foreign assets are affected here in Spain. So a Spanish will is a good thing to have. So there we are, 7 tips on the purchase process in Sotogrande. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us either via our website or directly through the emails or our telephone numbers, which are all on the details of this video in the YouTube channel. Look forward to anything you might have for us.
Bye.